Okay, so I want to do a rerun of the facial mocap retargeting from FaceCap, animation clip, FBX clips, which come in, as an FBX and an audio file. So on this rig, you're dealing with a generic rig, few transforms for the neck and eyes, and then a skin mesh renderer with its Apple blendshape names. If I just press play, you can see the animation playing through, changing the skin meshes, and this is what it looks like. The actual animation clip, you've got your transforms and targeting the head, skin mesh, and the blend shape names. And we want to retarget that to a Mixamo humanoid rig, which has its own set of blend shape names and obviously a humanoid bone hierarchy. So we're going from this to that. Now this would be possible without some important assets, and most importantly is Chris from Enemy Hideout, his ProjectSearch&Replace asset, which is going to allow us to retarget the animation paths. He's also been brilliant. He's been a brilliant tech artist and has created this animation retargeting utility, which will allow us to rename the blend shapes and also, most importantly, copy them. Because if you look at the conversion, the mapping's not a straight one-to-one. It is sometimes. So for example, on brow down left, it maps on the Mixamo side directly to brows down left, and equally right maps directly to right. But on a blend shape like brow inner up, that's actually split between two blend shapes on the Mixamo side. I try to show you what I mean on here. So there's the brow inner up, so it's got one animation curve and it's mapping to one of these blend shapes. But on the Mixamo side, it'll need to be copied, one for one side and then for the other, and that's where Chris's animation retargeting utility comes in. It's once you've copied it into your folder, it's available from animation in retargeting. Just gonna put it there. We'll come to it in a second. And the other, so as well as I'm using ProjectSearch&Replace, and the other one which we'll be using to convert from the generic clip to a humanoid clip is Animation Converter by the developer who does UMotion, which I also recommend. So we're going to need that as well. So Animation Converter, just going to whack it in here, and finally Search and Replace. So it's mostly about paths and renaming within these clips, and also doing the conversion from generic to humanoid. So the only way you can do the conversion, so using Animation Converter, is if your input bone hierarchy matches the output bone hierarchy. So the way to do that is to take, let's create copies of our clips. You need to, because you can't alter them when they're part of the FBX. So that's this one. And make a copy of that. Control D. Okay. And it's going to need an output directory, so I'm just going to create one now. Create a new folder. Let's call it converted. And to here. So the very first thing, if I set up my animator for you, so there's an idle, the FaceCap animator is simple, it's a single layer, the two original clips. On the Mixamo side, there are two layers. Is a base layer which has, well, whatever animations you'd want, you know, walk cycle or whatever, and then a facial mocap layer which is using an avatar mask. And the avatar mask is literally just masking out everything except for the head. Okay, so that's set up. If I bring these animation clips in, I'm just going to do a very just basic loop. So so using just, you know, basic setup with an exit time. So I'll play that clip, now play the next clip, then play that clip. And if you look at the animations, that's the idle one. They're all broken, it's all yellow. So the reason is the transform names, the path is incorrect for this rig, and also it's looking for a path to a mesh, in this case head, which doesn't exist. And then finally also there's the problem of the blend shape names which don't match these. This I've combined as a combined mesh. Originally the Mixamo characters come with, you know, hair and eyelashes and clothes all separate. I've used Meshbaker here to combine them. You can also use Skin Vertex Mapper, but dealing with only a single skin mesh makes things a lot easier. Just make sure that you keep the Mixamo blend shapes and their name. So first things first, we need to change the targets, the paths. So if I've clicked on there, I can copy the path to the blend shapes. I'm going to say I want to do a property search on this kind of object. So I've brought in one animation clip, but in fact we can tell ProjectSearch&Replace to have a scope of more than one file. You can batch convert all of these by just specifying a location, and the location is just going to be this folder. And the kind of conversion for the animation clip is the property path, group transform head. And what do I want to replace that path with? I actually want to replace it with the Mixamo skin mesh. And click search and replace, and that's done. So now all of these, you can just about see, it no longer says head, it says Meshbaker mesh. And still yellow. The reason they're still yellow is because the blend shape names are still incorrect. Until we get that right, it'll remain yellow, but at least we've got the path right. Now the second bit that we want to change, to convert, is the generic transforms, and they're currently pointing to group transform, which is this, but we want to convert it to a humanoid clip that follows the Mixamo hierarchy. So this is where, again, we need to go back, and I grab that transform name. So I want to change, every time you see this, I want to change it to, and it's the full hierarchy from here. So you want to go hips, then down into the spine, and then spine 1, and then spine 2, and finally the neck. Okay, now by the way, you can save these, save searches, which you can see I've done already, but it's super useful, so you don't have to keep writing that if you're doing it more than once. We make sure that I'm in the right place. So the converted clips, yeah, looking for group transform and search and replace. So it's done that. Have a look down here, yeah, so it's fixed those, but we still have the eyes to do. So there's my saved. So I'm going to do eye left. Tell it I want to deal with these clips, and just double check. Yeah, it's going to look down there. That's fine. And the reason it's this is because in the previous search and replace it kind of slotted them here in the hierarchy, but the final name is incorrect, so that's why we're now needing to change that. So search and replace, I'll fix one of them. Now we do the other one. Right eye, double check, group eye right, group eye right, yeah, that's fine. Search and replace. Now all of those are correct now. So we fix the transform names, still a generic clip, but at least the transform names are changed. I would recommend removing the position transform. You would not want to alter position transform on a humanoid clip. You're only wanting to deal with rotations. So I'm going to do that with this one, and I'm going to do that with the other one as well. And then I'm going to convert them to from generic to humanoid. Now that we've got a naming strategy that is no longer this but actually matches humanoid rig, we can do the conversion using animation converter. So the process for animation converter is you need an input and an output avatar rigs. Is our original humanoid rig. If I control D on this, I'm just going to rename it generic. Excuse the broken materials, it's kind of my raw inputs before I fixed all the materials. But importantly, I want that rig to be generic. Just make sure it knows what its root node is. Apply. Okay, I'm just going to drag it in to kind of prove my point on here. So that's now the generic one, and I'm just going to grab one of the converted clips, which kind of creates a temporary animation controller for this clip. So the blend shapes are all obviously wrong, but this is a generic clip animating these transforms. But if I try to use those on the humanoid rig, you can't use a generic clip on a humanoid rig, so I need to convert them. Let me delete that. We don't actually need it at all. What we need to do is this conversion. So I'm going to delete that. So I've got my two clips converted. Drag them here. So again, you could batch a whole bunch of these from the animation converter. Also the retargeting utility does a batching, and project search and replace because of folders. So you can process a whole lot of these clips at once. Just showing you just a couple to make it a little bit simpler. So the output we want is humanoid. We're going to need an output directory. So humanoid. do. And so we've got changing to humanoid, put it in this place. You can play around with these settings if you want to make it a lossy conversion. The important bit is dragging that generic rig and the humanoid rig. That's how it does its conversion. It can map from one to the other as long as the names match, which we did with Project Search and Replace. So we did that, just click convert. You get a kind of report telling you hopefully all's good. Let's have a look in our converted folder. Now we've got these new animation clips, and they're humanoid clips. In fact, they've got start and end keyframes for all the transforms in the rig, which is what you need for an animation clip. And we've kept all of the curves that map to the blend shapes. So let's go into our animator and use those. So converted. Okay, now that all maps because it's been converted to humanoid and it knows where to find the transforms, but we still have the problem of the yellow on the blend shapes, and that's because of the name. So brow down left is, where's the head, is shapes brow down left is an Apple blend shape name, and now's the bit of wanting to convert it to the Mixamo blend shape names. And now we finally get to Chris's great retargeting utility. So I'm just going to keep that here so you can see it. I think it's nice to see what it does. The way the retargeting utility works is you just throw in a preset scriptable object which has mapping attributes. So I've set this up. I'm happy to make these available. You could, in fact, I've created a couple of variants, and it's completely to do with how you choose to take one blend shape and map it to the other. There's some subtleties that it's kind of down to you. You'll probably want to tweak those. Some are obvious. Let me show you. Some are really obvious, like obviously blink and squint and eyes wide. Some are less obvious, I think. Sure, left is fine, but some of the mouth funneling, I think I did one version which has mouth funnel mapping to mouth narrow left and right, but I also did another version which is mouth funnel mapping to actually 4 of the Mixamo blend shapes. Similarly with mouth pucker, that's one version, then that's another version. So you'll have to try for yourself. But you can save these scriptable, or make copies of the scriptable objects. But the basics are, you've got how many clips you're going to alter. So I'm altering these. Let's drag them in. There's an input prefix and output prefix. The prefixes are to do with these names. On the Apple side, I've got shapes dot brow down left, shapes dot through all of them. So you've got an input prefix. The output prefix Mixamo doesn't use the shapes prefix, so it gets it's not needed. And then each of the blend shapes from the FaceCap Apple to Mixamo. The ones that are straight copies, you just go replace. Or straight mapping, I should say, you use just to replace. On the ones that need to be copied, so the ones that are an eyebrow inner up that need the animation curve copied twice for two separate blend shapes. The process is your name, copy to one blend shape name, and then you take the same input and then replace it. So when you need browing up, going to two separate ones, the first time you copy, then you replace, and then the straight replaces, you just replace. The ones that don't exist, like on the iPhone, they've got I look blend shapes, but they don't exist on the Mixamo rig. Just set to delete and get rid of them. So that's the scriptable object mapping, pointing to these two clips, and you can see, so we're still got the inspector, they're all missing. Retarget. It takes a little while because it's having to go through all of the keyframes, making copies when necessary. And I'm doing two clips. One of them is a little long, it's about 21 seconds. Just be patient. And there you are, it's updated, and now everything's turned from yellow to black, and the names have been changed. And you can see, so in our mapping where we had brow inner up, and it's made copies for brow outer left and right, brows outer left and right, so that's, you can see it's exactly the same animation curves. The keyframes have been copied twice, and that's pretty much it. Let's double check the other one. Yeah, that's all good. So we've got both the retargeted transforms or rotations to a humanoid rig, and the blend shapes renamed, and we should be good to go. And one of the reasons I do this kind of little loop is it's worth bearing in mind is when you first go into play mode, that first clip for the first playthrough seems to be out of sync, and then this clip will be in sync, and then that goes back in sync. You'll see it when I press play. The audio side of things is handled by just a very simple utility or script. If you saw my previous video, you saw that I was using an audio delay. I'm actually finding that I don't need that anymore, so it's zeroed out. But all it does really is it's taking an array of audio clips and just iterating through the first and then the second. So the first one is "Come on, let's walk down," yeah, which matches that clip, and then it'll play this one. Yeah, that's fine, although the important thing is, so I need to call this method, otherwise no audio will get played. So I need to go into the clips. So actually it doesn't matter which one you do first, but what does matter is make sure that you're at 0, so at the start of the clip. And I'm going to make sure I've got selected, add an event, and then I can select the method I want, go to the other clip, add a method or add an event, call this function, and so yeah, at the start of the clip it'll essentially play the method on here, play that audio. Okay, so remember the first time it'll be out of sync.
Alright mate, how you doing? Come on then,
when it's finished it'll be in sync for this one and be back in sync.
Hello, how are you? Yeah, I don't know, you know, I'm doing my best, and well, I'm not gonna let them get me down. That's the important thing. Don't let them talk to you that way, okay?
And the rotation on the head.
All right, mate. How you doing? Come on then. Let's walk down the corridor together. Hello. How are you? Yeah, I don't know, you know. I'm doing my best, and well, I'm not gonna let them get me down.
There you are. Hope that's useful. And again, big thank you to Chris for making the retargeting utility available. It's just, this wouldn't be possible without it. All right.